Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Comix Rant Mini. I'm your host, Arvin Bautista, and I am continuing my series on my comic book Christmas Advent calendar countdown, where I go through my favorite Christmas, holiday, New Year comic books and just go through them with you guys and review them and share them with you as we get closer to Christmas. And might I say, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas. And I just had to stick that cheesy line in there. I always wanted to say it. I always like saying it. And it is rainy here in California, about as Christmassy as you can get for the West Coast. I guess unless you're in Seattle or Washington area. Anyway, we are going to talk about World's Finest, this series that was written by Dave Gibbons, illustrated by Steve Rude, and I think with some art assists from Carl Kessel, and colors from Steve Oliff. And I'm saying, the way that Carl Kessel is listed in here is actually illustrators. Carl Kessel, I know him as an inker, and I'm guessing he's helping out. Maybe he does a little bit more, and that's why he's also in there as an illustrator. But he is also one of my favorite unsung inkers, and artists. He does, I think, some Kickstarter stuff nowadays, but he would ink John Byrne on his run in Superman, and everybody was always gaga, and rightfully so, over Terry Austin's inks on John Byrne's work in Superman. And also Dick Giordano. But I really loved Carl Kessel's stuff. So I actually saw his stuff too, inking over Rob Liefeld on Hawk and Dove. And I love that limited series. I know, I've heard Liefeld talk about it, and he loves it too, but there's a lot of stuff that went through there that he had to push a lot. And so it was not quite that great, but I love his stuff there. And I think it's also because Carl Kessel is inking him, or Kessel, I think, is like this bad guy that's in Hawk and Dove. But anyway, he does a great job here because I cannot tell where he is. It just looks like Steve Rude's awesome stuff. I don't know if you guys know Steve Rude, but Steve Rude is a absolutely fantastic artist. One of my favorites. I think he's like an artist. Every comic book artist loves his stuff. And he and Mike Barron did an independent comic called Badger and Nexus. I think both of those were them. And Nexus, I think, is his big one that he still tries to push every now and then. But he actually comes on board here with Dave Gibbons doing this book. And it is a glorious book, guys. So this is a team up between Batman and Superman. It says it was printed in 1990s. 1990s. So it's been a while. I don't think I actually picked it up. So I wasn't in college yet. I was not in the US yet when this came out. I was still in high school. By the time I picked up, I think it was in college. And, it's super great. It's a really awesome series. One of the best, I think, Batman Superman team up stories ever. You owe it to yourself, if you are a Batman Superman fan, to pick this up and read it. If you are not, you should pick it up and read it anyway. So it's a team up between Batman and Superman. It occurs during the Christmas holidays. And this first book is a setup for the hijinks that ensue later on. The second book is actually the Christmas book, and then the last one occurs in New Year's. So it's kind of cool. I would like to think that this first one actually happens during Thanksgiving, but there's nothing really specifically stated that way. It's not like that kind of holiday book. It's great because the story, look at that. I even got this signed by Mr. Rude himself. I think I even picked up his, he had like this pitch for a Nexus animated series, which is great. It's got this old school kind of Space Ghost looking animation style, and I think he animated some of it, and he used some of his own money to try to pitch it to companies. It never really went anywhere, which is unfortunate. But look at this. Come on. Let's not listen to myself talk. Look at this. This is crazy. So the opening sequence for this series is fantastic and absolutely wordless for the most part. And it's all just so visual and so striking. It's amazing stuff. And he just draws the living crap out of everything. It's so good. Like, I feel like with every one of these panels, I can see a couple in this second book where he kind of pulls back a little bit, but he goes all out. Like, this is like top notch Steve Rude artwork and storytelling. The storytelling is just so good. And here's another great splash of Metropolis. So you can see like he's already setting up these differences, which I believe is kind of what Jeff Loeb taps into on his own Batman Superman book, where these Dave Gibbons sets up these scenarios where there's a lot of parallels and in how the heroes tackle whatever crime or go on their adventure, or how they kind of solve certain things and the differences between the two. And there's a lot of parallels in the way it's set up in the book, the way it's told. And it becomes very obvious in the second issue, but you can totally see. I mean, it's already here in that first one. So anyway, the bad guys are obviously going to be Joker and Lex Luthor. It all centers around this orphanage. A Christmas story. Gotta have some orphans in there. It occurs in this orphanage that is midway, so it's actually called a Midway Orphanage, between Gotham and Metropolis. So there's already like a tie-in to this crossover, literally, with this place being right in the middle, in between everything. And it's cool because their supporting casts get to see each other, and I'm a sucker for that. I love seeing Lois Lane talk to Alfred, and Steve Rude is just a man. Oracle is here. Barbara Gordon in the Killing Joke, I guess continuity, right? And there's certain things in here that are like in old continuity, but it really doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. There's certain things that I see that I'm like, oh, okay. Like, Lex Luthor has a robot hand, which is, I think I just love Lex Luthor with a robot hand. Come on. Oh, here's another great sequence. So there's a parallel already here with Superman and Batman having nightmares. And it's like, it starts off very similar. So the blues are Batman's and then these oranges are Superman's. They are both orphans. And if you actually think about it, Superman's origin is a lot more tragic than Batman's because his whole planet is gone. But there's a cool one here where Superman's rocket shoots off of Krypton, and there's a parallel of the bullet that shoots the Waynes. And, there's like Steve Rude knows what he's doing. It's crazy stuff. And then there's like this cool creativity with this panel about like this heartbeat, right? Like it's like while they're sleeping, it's getting more intense, and, they wake up. Great freaking fantastic stuff, guys. This is one of my favorite books. All right, anyway. Let me breeze through this first one. So this first one is the setup. It's great. You can see it's freaking fantastic. I need more time for this book, to be honest, to go through it. It's just such an excellent book. I'll flip through this first one, but we should really get to this second one because this is the Christmas issue. And what ends up happening is the bad guys team up. So now Superman and Batman have to team up, and bad guys kind of swap a little bit. They swap cities. So Superman and Batman also swap cities. And I love Steve Rude's Superman. It is Fleischer, Superman, Fleischer Studios Superman, and he looks so great. I don't know how he makes it work. He just does squinty-eyed Superman. And Clark Kent is just so fantastic. So Clark meets Alfred. They go into Gotham. They pick him up in their respective train stations. And, Gotham's train station is total garbage. And Metropolis one is great. And it's night and day. So then Superman operates at night. There's even some great lines from Gibbons when Bruce Wayne doesn't know what time of day it is, and they just greet each other like, Bruce Wayne would be like, "Good night, Kent," and then Clark Kent would be like, "Good day, Mr. Wayne," that kind of thing. Just great banter. There's, as Superman's doing these like super feats, I can hear the Fleischer Studios soundtrack in my head, and it's so excellent, guys. I cannot stop gushing over this book. And there's a lot of detail within the city. So there's no real like overt, like Merry Christmas everyone, or like Tiny Tim and, Lassie and someone fell in the well or whatever it is. That's like, the typical Christmas, story greeting or whatever, but it's all over the place visually because Steve Rude just packs every panel chock full of all these like Christmas decor or people shopping. The Daily Planet is chock full of people in there. I have no idea how he drew all this, and everything is like accurate, proportionally accurate, really well, like, drawn and crafted. It just looks so great. And maybe that's why Carl Kessel was brought in to help out. But, there's a lot of tricks here that Steve Rude does in his artwork where I see like he'll do smoke or fog and it'll be in this crayon kind of texture. It's got like this texture on it that, back then there was computer coloring, but it didn't have these brushes like what we would know nowadays. So it was very traditional. You could kind of tell that it was kind of this charcoaly grit that happens there. You can kind of see some of it here on the smoke here. This is probably just dry brush, but there's a lot of this technique that happens that could be Kessel, but I would think that this looks like a Kevin Maguire face to me. I don't know why, but it's great. This is a great sequence right here. So Lois just does not like Bruce. She does not want to take any drinks from him. And what's weird is there is a lot of this, like, I'm not taking drinks from you in the Zack Snyder movies, in Batman vs. Superman, and even Justice League. Like, Wonder Woman in particular does not take drinks from people. I think if you watch BVS again, there's like a lot of things about like people offering other people drinks. There's like all these conspiracy theories about it. But it's interesting to see it here because she does not like Bruce. She's not taking wine poured from him. But once it turns out that Bruce does not like Lex, she's like, pour it on. Let's have some drinks. It's just all these little things are in there too. So even like at the restaurant when they're eating, there's just so much background detail. Like story background detail, not like a lot of architecture going on. But Bruce is in the restaurant with Lois, and here's an example, and he's looking off to the side, and there's the family eating with their kid, right? That family is not anywhere else, ever. But it gives you insight on what Bruce is thinking. We all know Bruce is an orphan. He probably has some sentimentality about it, right? Christmas time, too. And there's a lot of these things happening here. So I think there's even like, there's this, what's up here, Steve Rude? This copy boy checking out this girl who dropped papers in the office. Yeah, that's probably not going to fly nowadays in our comics, right? But, again, it's like moments like this, lots of gags. There's actually more gags everywhere. Just people in the office doing their regular things, waiting for a coffee, or yawning while he's grabbing coffee, right? Like Clark getting donuts, just a lot of little things. Like this is a great panel here where they're going to meet each other. Bruce and Clark are going to meet each other somewhere. Clark's just having a donut. It's morning time. Yeah, that's what you do. There's just a lot of figure and gestural dynamics going on here, and compositionally, just what the heck? It's just a masterclass of great storytelling. Hey, Christmas, yeah, Christmas tree. There you go. Told you, it's a Christmas story. Ho ho ho! Santa, Joker dresses up as Santa. We got complete here. Alfred with Jimmy and Lucy, I believe, is here. Lucy Lane, and I love like how. So they meet up in every issue. Like the cast will meet up at parties. So it's kind of cool. It's got this festive feeling. But the interactions between the characters are so great. And one of my favorite ones is with Alfred and Lois. Like they are very familiar and comfortable with each other in a very friendly way. It's not like someone flirting with somebody else like Bruce and Lois or whatever. But you'll see Lois kind of drape around Alfred's arm, hanging, or like totally trying to it's just like this kind of buddy thing that I love seeing. And a lot of my art does not have that. And I'd love to kind of put it in there. This is just amazing stuff. Look at that, Superman. that is straight up Schuster Superman, you know? And it, you know, Rude loves it. He does not hide it. He lives in it. And his Batman design is crazy looking too. So here are some of the panels that I thought, like, okay, he's kind of loosening up on some of these sequences. Even this Superman sequence that was early on when he's saving this building. It's all in silhouette. It's all expertly drawn silhouettes, mind you. Oh, where'd it go? Oh, I can't find it. Oh, there. Like this one, right? It's just very quick. Even this, like the character's face. But let me tell you that this is not a ding on this book at all. This book is just so crazy to me that it exists. That, like, you know, like, there are some pages that he has to just tell the story, and he tells the story well that doesn't really matter. And then he's back at it, you know, just in the span of like 2 or 3 pages, he's back at it, going crazy, like this dry brush technique. I think that Steve Rude, people used to do this a lot more, in combination with like the slicker, the slicker inking styles. Ooh, yeah, it gets a little horrific. So this is midway in the book, and, you know, Superman's bringing out, you know, there's so much stuff going on in this room. This is Steve Rude being loose too. Like, he's kind of gotten more crazier stuff going on. There's some things in here that coloring that I wasn't too sure about, but, you know, it's more this modern coloring. But it makes sense because it's also in front of this fire, so it's kind of like this, got a different feeling. But, you know, for the most part, they're colored very classic. And very Christmas moment here. Superman gives Batman a Christmas present, which is a DVD of Zorro. And, you know, there's not much going on in here, but it's such a great moment. In this continuity, Batman and Superman don't quite really get along with each other. They don't hate each other, but they work with each other. They're not like world's best superheroes or world's best super friends. But, you know, Superman, being Superman, gives Batman a Christmas present. They kind of invite each other. There's a great interaction here where Bruce invites him over to Wayne Manor if he needs someplace to hang out in the holidays, and he's like, "Oh, thanks. I'll be spending Christmas with friends." And then Superman catches himself, "Oh, friends in Metropolis, I mean," you know, as if like, we're friends too, Batman. It's okay. But it's great. And then it's a great moment. Definitely a fun moment that throws me back into that time when Superman and Batman were not quite friends. So it's kind of this kind of cool interaction. And anyway, in the middle of this, being solved, the two villains, relationship, I guess, goes sour. And these are great covers, so you can see here. So the second book, which is the Christmas issue, has them shaking, and then each of these issues in the back, there's like kind of this gag, I guess you could say. So they're shaking, but there's like all these goons like pointing guns at each other. This one's like that too. It's like the first one's like Batman, Superman, together again, world's finest, and then they're like, get us out of here. They're just flying out, you know. They're just, we're out. We took the hero pose, and that's it. We're going to our own respective places. And the last one's like that too. This is the New Year's issue. I won't go through this. If I have time, maybe it'll be part of this series. But also same excellent quality of work. I would say even better than what I just showed you in the Christmas one, and maybe even better than the first issue. Okay, maybe not. But it's all really good. So this one has the same gag. So, you know, they caught the bad guys, and then at the end, well, maybe not a gag. It's the photo for the Daily Planet, and it's a happy ending. But yeah, maybe like this is just really good. So let's just flip through this really quick. So this is the New Year's episode, but like, I mean, geez, look at this. Look at this. Can you imagine drawing that? Anyway, I can't imagine drawing that. It just looks so great. Like everybody's hanging out. Everybody's got their own like personality. How long would it take me to draw this? I have no idea. I don't even want to know. Look at this great composition inside the Daily Planet globe. This is where the parallel stuff happens. So like on top is Batman, on the bottom is Superman. There's a lot of this that happens in the Batman and Superman by Jeff Loeb, I feel. But anyway, that's it for this episode. We are getting close to Christmas, everybody, and this is World's Finest number 2. It's the whole series. I would recommend the whole series to you, but for our purposes, for our Christmas calendar, Advent comic book countdown, World's Finest number 2 is your Christmas go-to book, followed by 3, which is the New Year's version. Really fantastic book. I love this book. I will reread it till the end of my days, even if it's not Christmas. Steve Rude, Dave Gibbons, Carl Kessel, and Steve Oliff doing the chores for World's Finest. Pick this up. It's still being collected, and it is such a great buy. And speaking of buys, it's time for me to say my own. So see you guys next episode on Comix Rant.